everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Denise Torres, and if you are new to my channel, hello, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I wanted to share with you guys my ectopic pregnancy experience, which, to be honest, I've never heard of before until it happened to me. But I wanted to share that with you guys because it's been something that has been in my heart, and I experienced not too long ago, and I just kind of want to share it because I don't know, if I can help somebody or if other people are out there that experience the same thing as I have. If you are new, a little background story about me. I am married. I have been married for 4.5 years, and I have a 3.5-year-old boy. His name is Noah, and he is the light of my world. I've heard about miscarriages before, and I've heard of infertility, but I've never fully got to understand because I'd never been there. So this experience completely changed the game for me. To kind of lead you guys into my story. So when Noah turned 2, me and Justin were talking about having another baby, but we both were kind of on the same page as to if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, then I'm okay with that too. So 2 years later, or 2.5 years later, I haven't gotten pregnant. And it was always in the back of my mind, to go get checked, to make sure that there's nothing wrong down there, and to make sure that everything is fine. Because with Noah, it happened so fast. We were, not expecting that. But this time around, we haven't, been protecting ourselves, and it hasn't happened, and it's now been 2.5 years up. So I made an appointment in October for November to go see my OBGYN. And when I went to get a regular pap smear, a checkup, my nurse goes, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, what? She goes, you're pregnant, right? And I was like, what? I was so excited, and I was like, no way. She's like, yeah, you're pregnant. And I was like, how? I mean, granted, I knew my period was late, but I wasn't expecting it because I wasn't getting pregnant for 2.5 years. So it was a surprise, but I was so happy when she did tell me that because we kind of wanted a baby. So I was so excited, and I couldn't wait to tell Justin, and I was already thinking about all the possible ways that I could surprise him. She's like, yeah, you're pregnant. She did the vaginal ultrasound, and nothing showed up, but she's like, don't worry about it. You're probably really still early on in your pregnancy. And I said, okay, that's fine. Again, I'm completely naive to this whole infertility TTC community, whatever you want to call it, because I never experienced none of this with Noah. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. She's like, come back in 2 days so I could take your ACG levels, blood work done to check how your ACG levels are rising. I said, okay, sure. So 2 days later, I came back. I did some blood work, and she calls me back with my results, and she tells me that my ACG levels are still kind of low, but that's probably really normal because I'm probably super early. I'm probably 3 or 4 weeks pregnant. But in my mind, I was kind of well, I was trying to calculate the last time I got my period, and they usually say, the first day of your last period, I think, is when you should kind of calculate how far along you are. So in my mind, I'm I should be technically about 5 weeks or 6 weeks. But nonetheless, she's my doctor, so I, kind of just trusted whatever she said. So she did tell me that my progesterone level was really low, really low. So during the time that I was pregnant, during the time that I was find out I was pregnant and I was going to my doctor, I did feel totally different this time around than I did with Noah. And I know every pregnancy is different. I know you're not going to feel the same in every pregnancy, but this time around, for some reason, it didn't feel real. I just didn't really feel like I was pregnant. With Noah, I got every symptom in the book from the very beginning. Like the next day, I got so sick. My first trimester was, oh, death. I was so sick. My breasts were sore. I got every symptom in the book. And this time around, I didn't really feel anything, to be honest. Granted, I did feel like my boobs a little tender, but they weren't sore. And I was running out of breath. And I probably got like headaches here and there, but I never got nauseous. I never threw up. Like, it was totally different. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm not gonna get sick the same way that I did with Noah. So I was like, okay, it may not feel real because I don't feel the symptoms, but the pregnancy test showed that I was pregnant. And I'll probably insert like a little picture here so you can see. While I was waiting for like my next ultrasound visit, I think it was in like 2 weeks. I told Justin one night I want to take a pregnancy test, and he's like, why? And I said, because I don't know why. I just want to make sure that I'm pregnant. I don't feel like I'm pregnant, and I don't know, I just want to take a pregnancy test. So he's like, okay, go ahead. But nothing's wrong, like you're totally fine. You're probably just overthinking it. I'm like, okay. So I run out, I spend money, and it says pregnant still. So I was like, okay, that kind of gave me like peace of mind. And then I remember it was a Monday night. I put Noah to bed, and it was like around 2 in the morning. I had to go use the bathroom, so I went to go pee, and when I look, I see blood. And I freaked out because, again, I've never experienced this before, not even with Noah. So I freaked out because immediately whenever you see blood and you know you're pregnant, it's like a cause of concern, and you get scared like, oh my God, I'm miscarrying or whatever. And I saw blood, and I like took a picture, and I freaked out. So I went to go tell Justin, and you know, we started praying. And he's like, I showed him the picture because I took a picture. I showed him the picture, and he's like, you know, don't worry about it. Some people bleed while they're pregnant. You know, he's trying to lift up my spirits and encourage me that it should be fine, that it's normal. Every pregnancy is different. So I called my doctor, and I made an appointment like that same morning, Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning, I go to my doctor's office, and she does an ultrasound, like vaginally again. And she's there for like 3 minutes. And she gets quiet. I already knew. Like in my heart, I already knew something was wrong. I probably lost the baby, and I already knew something was wrong. So I was just waiting for her to tell me what was wrong. And so she turns off after like 5 full minutes. Okay, I'm like trying to, like, I'm looking at the machine, and I'm trying to see if I see something myself. And by this time I should already be 6 weeks along. So she goes, I'm so sorry, but you're having a miscarriage. When she tells me that, I'm like trying to keep it together, but I like the night before I was already crying because I already knew like something was wrong. So I'm trying to keep it together, and I'm trying to, you know, try to stay positive about everything. And I say, are you sure? Like that's always like the first question you ask yourself if you get bad news, you know, like, are you sure? Hoping that maybe they miscalculated, or they didn't really like, I don't know what they were doing, I guess, because you don't want it to be true. She's like, yeah, I'm so sorry. You should be getting your period in a couple of days, but there's no baby inside. So when she tells me that, I couldn't hold it. together. I started crying and she grabbed my hand and she started crying with me. We both started crying together, and because of COVID, Justin couldn't come with me, so I felt very alone. He was waiting for me in the car, but I kind of just wanted to give myself a minute to process everything and be able to tell him in the car. And you know, I was upset that I'm like, wow, I'm going through a miscarriage, really? Okay, I mean, sure. I mean, like, what's next? Like, what should I expect? What do I do? Because I'm new to this. Like, I've never experienced this with Noah. So she said, you should be getting your period in a couple of days, and I want to see you in about like 4 days. Just make an appointment to come. No, sorry, I want to see you next week. So just make an appointment. So I said, okay, and I left, and as soon as I got in the car, I started bawling. I started crying, and I told Justin what happened, and I immediately told him, like, I knew it. I knew something was wrong from the very beginning with this pregnancy. Noah was with us, and I remember just looking back and looking at Noah, and I remember just thanking God, and I'm like, God, thank you, because I at least have a son, and thank you because you at least gave me, you know, like, the experience of being a mom. So nonetheless, 2 days later, I didn't like have my period or nothing. So on the third day, I woke up and I remember I started to have cramps on like my left side, and it just felt very crampy. And as time, you know, went on, it started to progress, the pain. And I remember telling Justin, like, I'm getting cramps on my left side, but I thought that was part of being, I thought that was part of just miscarrying, because again, I don't know anything about this, so I thought that was just part of the process. So I'm just like going on about my day, and just I remember my doctor calling me, and she goes, hey, can you come to the clinic because your ACG levels keep rising, and you're probably having a missed miscarriage. Which, if you don't know, a missed miscarriage pretty much is, you know, your body not recognizing that you're going through a miscarriage, so it's still acting as if you were still pregnant. So I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'm like, all right, fine. But I still had hope for some reason in the back of my mind that this was all just like a big lie, or just, you know, an error, and I'm probably still pregnant, and I was going to testify about it, and I was going to have it be a miracle. But I go to my doctor's office. She says she wants to do an ultrasound and she wants to do another blood work. And I was excited because I'm like, okay, maybe, you know, if she's able to see the baby now and everything is fine, and whatever the case is. So I did my blood work, and then I go downstairs to the tech room, and she does the ultrasound, and I start praying, you know, like in my mind I'm like, Lord, please let me keep this baby, and you know, just give me some exciting news. But then, so the nurse starts doing the ultrasound vaginally still, and she's quiet. It's like a tech. She wasn't my doctor. It was just an ultrasound tech for, you know, the clinic, for the office. So she's just quiet, and she's taking pictures, and she's quiet, and she's taking pictures. And I'm like, I asked her, I'm like, do you see the baby? Do you see like something? She goes, give me 1 second. I'm trying to take photos. I'm like, okay, fine. After she was done, she tells me straight up, okay, so you are having an ectopic pregnancy. And I was like, what are you talking about? I immediately started Googling everything, because Google, it's like my best and my worst friend at the same time. So she's like, you're having an ectopic pregnancy. There was a heartbeat. So that means my baby is still alive. Something must have happened that didn't allow my egg to implant in my uterus, and it implanted on my left fallopian tube. So at that moment, like, she's trying to help me explain she's trying to help me understand what an ectopic pregnancy was, but I was kind of like not even listening to her, because all I kept thinking about was, my baby is still alive. Maybe I can save it. Granted, I'm still naive and ignorant about everything. So I'm like, you know, maybe there's some way to save my baby. So that doctor immediately told me to go to the ER, that I shouldn't go home, that I need to go straight to the emergency room. And I was like freaking out. So by this point, I was like, oh gosh, all right. So I go to the car, and it's just me and Justin, and I'm like, I need to go to the emergency room because they need to do an emergency surgery, and they're going to remove my left fallopian tube, because at this point I was too far along for them to give me, I forgot the name of it, I'll probably like insert it down below, but it's like this medicine that they give you for you to naturally like miscarry, but it's a medicine that like, it's like a chemo treatment, something like that, for cancer patients. But anyway, so they told me that I was already too far along for them to give me that medication, so that they need to just do the surgery themselves. And I was, you know, on my way to the emergency room, and I'm like crying, I'm thinking the worst, and I start talking to Justin. Justin's like, you know, being the best supportive husband that he is, and he starts praying with me, and he starts calming me down and talking to me about that everything is under control. And as much as I freaked out, in the back of my mind I felt peace, and I knew God was telling me, just be still, I have everything under control, I am right there with you. Those things just kept coming to my mind. As much as I was crying, as much as I was freaking out, as much as I was probably thinking the worst, those things kept coming to my mind. So we get to the hospital, and you know, I check in, and this part sucked the most. Because of COVID and everything going on, I had to go inside by myself. Justin couldn't be with me. But you know what? Maybe I needed that moment by myself to talk to God. And I'm in the room, and you know, they start taking my blood work, they start checking my heart for this, getting me ready for this surgery. And this whole time I'm not even concerned about the what's it called, the laparoscopy surgery, I think that's called, or procedure, I don't know. But I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking about my baby. Now, to the doctors and to the nurses and to everybody, it's considered a non-viable pregnancy. But to me, that was my baby. Like, I wanted this baby really bad. Guys, no matter how far along you are, whether it's 1 week, whether you're 35 weeks, no matter how big or small the baby is, that is your baby. And it matters if you lose the baby. And no matter what stage you are in your pregnancy, it matters, and it hurts, and it's real, and it's painful. and you feel so vulnerable because there's nothing that you can do to save the pregnancy, to save the baby. So at that moment, I wasn't even concerned about the surgery. I wasn't even concerned about them removing my left fallopian tube. All I kept thinking about was, I can't do anything to save my baby. And that was tough because I had to go through those feelings and those emotions by myself. I didn't have Justin there with me. And I remember feeling like I needed to pray. Like God was pulling my heart to pray and to just seek Him. And I immediately start asking Him, why am I going through this? What is it that you're trying to show me or teach me through this experience? And that's all I kept asking. I wasn't like angry at Him. I was just asking, like, why? What is it that you want me to know? What is it that you're trying to tell me, that you're trying to show me? What is it that you're trying to show me through this? Because this sucks. Like, I don't want to be going through this, you know? And I want to know what's gonna happen. And, like, I had so many questions. And I knew, like, I wanted the answers right away, but I knew I wasn't gonna get them. So I just spent that moment playing worship music, and I was playing like Kim Walker's new album. I think it's called Wild Heart, and that album was just playing the whole time. I felt some sense of peace, and you know, I was just spending my time with God. I have a little bit of PTSD from that experience. And so as much as like I want to try again and, you know, I want to have another baby, I am still like a little bit scared. I'm not gonna lie. I'm scared that something can go wrong, that this can happen again and I lose my one last fallopian tube that's left. But anyways, so that's what happened. That's my whole experience with what happened and how I found out I was having an ectopic pregnancy. I know my doctor told me that I should wait at least 2 cycles of a regular period before I try again. So I'm like totally okay with that. But the way that I feel now prior to what I felt like 2 years ago when we were kind of just nonchalant about everything, like if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. After this ectopic experience, it's made me want to try now, like officially try, get everything in order. I started watching a lot of infertility videos on YouTube, and I've learned so much. I've learned so much about infertility, and I feel the pain that they go through, and I know what it is now to have lost a baby, to have miscarried. I know what it is now to feel like you want a baby now so bad, which is kind of what I'm feeling now. We are officially trying now. I am going to wait for like my 2 cycles to come. I haven't gotten my period yet since my surgery, so I guess I'm just like trying to wait to see what my body does naturally. So hopefully with these vitamins that I'm taking and that Justin's taking, and with praying that everything is fine with my right fallopian tube, I should be able to conceive and have a baby. So 2021 goals, I hope to and pray that I'm able to have a baby in 2021. But to be honest, I feel like at the end of the day, if this does not happen, I'm not going to proceed. Like, I'm not going to force and try to have another baby. I know that it may sound like it's, you know, harsh or cruel, but to be honest, I'm happy with Noah, and I'm grateful that I had Noah, and I love Noah so much. And you know, like I already had my experience. I'm good. Like I'm good with one. baby. Now if I have more babies, like, that would be cute and fun, I guess, but I'm happy with Noah. I'm really kind of just doing this because of what happened. It made me like want to try and see if I could have another baby. But if this doesn't work, or if something happens with my right fallopian tube, I'm not going to like be stuck on it. Like, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna try and I'm gonna try. No, I trust God, and I believe that God has everything for a reason. Everything happens for a reason when you're with the Lord, and I just trust in Him. And I know that if I was to have more babies, then He would give me a baby. And if I wasn't to have any more babies, then what I went through will help other people that are going through the same thing. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. I do want to see if I meet new people through this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel. I didn't say that in the beginning. I usually always say that in the beginning, but subscribe to my channel. And I will hope to see you guys in another video. Bye.